We are Jim and Joelle, and our family of 6 lives on a 5-acre homestead in the Midwest where our goal is to grow enough food to feed our family year-round. Between our gardens, chickens, milk cow, fruit trees, and foraging, we come close to hitting that. Along with homesteading and homeschooling our children, we also have chosen the path of entrepreneurship with starting our own home-based business. Not fitting into the normal 9-to-5 job category, we often get asked, "What do you do for health insurance?" And our answer is, we don't.
But it hasn't always been this way. A few years into our marriage, Jim got a job as a construction manager with a really small company that didn't offer insurance benefits. And so I did what a lot of people my age were doing. I went out and I got a job at the local Starbucks so that we would have really good health insurance. And as a culture, we do some pretty crazy things to opt into these systems. But since transitioning into this homestead life, one of the most freeing things has been starting to question some of these systems that are in place around us. And for us, this started with the food system and really starting to question where food was coming from and what the ingredients were in the food that we were eating and make some pretty big changes. And then from there, it led into other things like the school system or skincare and what we were putting into our body, living debt-free. And as we made these changes, we both felt better, but also just really appreciated how the choices we were making felt more informed and aligned with our values. And eventually, this led us to start questioning what we should do for healthcare. We desired to have more freedom, more choice in terms of the practitioners that we were seeing, and something that aligned with our Christian beliefs and values was huge. So we started looking into healthcare sharing. We began comparing and contrasting the different healthcare sharing companies to research what would be the best fit for our family. And that's when we found Samaritan Ministries, who really just best aligned with our values and beliefs. And so we joined as members of Samaritan 7 years ago, and we haven't looked back since.
Healthcare sharing is a new concept for many. Certainly it was for us when we were first introduced to it. But in its most basic form, it's a community of people coming together to share or help with one another's medical needs. So for example, Samaritan Ministries, which we are a part of, has 270,000 members. So instead of making a monthly payment where you really don't know who it's going to or how it's being spent, your money goes to a specific person with a specific medical need every month. There are quite a few different healthcare sharing companies out there, and we did lots of research, and hands down, Samaritan was the winner for us.
There are several reasons that we love Samaritan, but the one that always goes to the top of the list for me was this idea of direct member-to-member sharing. So instead of paying a check to a large corporation every month that we really aren't sure where that money is going or how it's being distributed, instead, how Samaritan works is that when we have a medical need, we submit our eligible bills to Samaritan, and then they assign other members to send their share directly to us to help us pay for the cost of those bills. And we do the same for other members. When they have a medical need, every month we receive a share notice for a monthly share amount, and then we write a check to a specific member for a specific medical need that they just had. So for example, we might send a check to Sally, who just had a baby, or Tom, who just had surgery. So there is this very personal aspect of Samaritan that I had just never seen anywhere else. Another thing that we love about Samaritan is that it gives us the flexibility to choose the licensed healthcare professionals that we want to work with. So instead of being kind of pigeonholed into a select list, we get to choose who we work with. They also have wonderful choices for a birth need that might come up, and this was really important for us. We've had 3 babies now since being members of Samaritan, and we've actually had all of those babies at home with a midwife. And they are great at giving you the freedom to choose the type of care that you want for any medical needs, but specifically birth. So they're friendly toward home birth or a birthing center or a hospital birth, and having those choices has been really helpful for us. They also even allow you to submit bills for things like supplements that a midwife would recommend or a birthing kit for your home birth. So it's just those little things that I really appreciate about Samaritan. I've also really appreciated how organized Samaritan has been and how easy it's been to be a Samaritan member and figure out all of these things with submitting a bill and having another member send their share to us and how all of that works together. It's a little intimidating at first, but once you get familiar with the Samaritan dashboard, which we'll go over here in a minute, their systems are extremely easy and streamlined to figure out. I also really appreciate how quick their turnaround is. So typically when we submit a bill to Samaritan, we are getting money from other members to help us pay that bill within 2 to 3 months of us submitting it. Along with that, being a Samaritan member has given us so much peace of mind. If a medical emergency, illness, or injury comes up, I have no doubt that we are going to be taken care of and that it's not going to be a financial burden on our family.
Another thing we love is that this healthcare sharing model through Samaritan is biblical. I think of the early Acts community and how they lived with everything shared, and this is a very real representation of how that can play out today with helping other believers in some of their hardest times. And something else we've really come to appreciate over the years with Samaritan, and we can't say this for many other places, is their customer service. Their team is super authentic and helpful and encouraging to work with, and they often will take the time right there on the phone to pray for you and your circumstances.
So we thought it might be helpful to share some behind the scenes of how does it actually work to be a Samaritan member. So when you're a member, you have what they call a dashboard, and that's where you can sign in on their website and you have your own personalized dashboard, and things are broken down into shares and needs. So shares are what you are giving each month to another member. Every month you're assigned a specific amount to share, and so you can do that either electronically or by paper mail. You send your share with a note of encouragement to that member directly. And then needs are when those medical needs arise for you or someone in your family, either an illness, an injury, or a maternity need that you are going to go ahead and submit to Samaritan. So just to walk you through a brief example that we recently had. A couple of months ago, I sliced my finger while I was doing dishes. I ended up having to go to urgent care to get a few stitches in my finger. And so I received a bill from urgent care for that need. So when I went into urgent care, I just told them that I am a cash pay patient, which automatically comes with a pretty significant discount in and of itself. And then they just billed me directly with that cash pay discount. From there, after I had submitted the need to Samaritan by supplying some basic information about what happened and where I was at in the process and what further treatment and things are happening with it, I needed to upload and submit the bill that I received from urgent care to Samaritan. So to do that, all I did was take a picture of that itemized bill, uploaded it into the dashboard, and then submitted it. The whole process to submit that whole need only took me a couple of minutes. Now, if there's a more significant thing that comes up, like we had a child having to spend a couple of days in the hospital for an infection, obviously there's going to be more bills associated with that need. So it's going to be a little bit more legwork of submitting all of those bills. But really, the process is very, very easy and streamlined. I also love that they have their system of tracking exactly where we are at in the process. We know exactly which bills have been submitted and received and when we can expect to receive money from other members to help us pay for those bills. There's also a checklist, and so there is definitely a system of checks and balances to make sure that each month every member is sending the share that they need to send. And so when there's a medical need, when the need is submitted and shared with other members, we get a checklist to know exactly what we can expect to receive, and then when we receive that payment, we can go ahead and check it off so that they know what has been received, and that that person has paid their share that month. All right, guys, here we go. All right, guys, stay by the car in the parking lot. I gotta go walk around and get Clara. All right, guys, why don't you come with me? Here we go, Abe. There are two different sharing programs, Samaritan Classic and Samaritan Basic. So we're part of the Classic program, which I can speak to that more because I'm familiar with it. So in Samaritan Classic, with every medical need that you have, there's an initial $400 that you cannot share. So for example, with that finger laceration example that I talked about earlier, the bill that I got from urgent care was for $515. So the first $400 of that bill, we were responsible for paying. And then the additional $115 above that was shared with other members. If you go to the Samaritan Ministries website, they break down all the details about the cost depending on your family size and what exactly is shareable and what you can expect for each program. The Classic program is going to be a higher monthly cost. So for us, with our family of 6, we pay roughly $650 per month for Classic. And for this, what this means is that when we have a medical need, there's that initial $400 that is unshareable. So for example, well visits are not shared, but eligible injury or illness related or any maternity need is shareable. So anything above that $400 amount is shareable up to a maximum of $250,000 per medical need. We really like the Classic program because for us, it's really easy to put that into our budget. We know roughly what amount we'll be sending to another member each month, and then we also set aside in our budget the amount to pay for well visits that our family will need that year, as well as $400 to $800 every year for that initial $400 unshareable amount if a medical need were to arise unexpectedly, because we've kind of realized over the years that at least 1 or 2 unexpected medical injuries or illnesses tends to come up for us most years. So Samaritan Basic, the other program that they offer, is going to be a lower monthly cost. But if a medical need, an injury, or an illness were to come up, you are going to be paying a higher unshareable amount than you would with Classic. So you kind of just need to figure out your situation and what's going to work best for you. A big question that we get all of the time when we tell people that we use healthcare sharing with Samaritan Ministries is, but what about catastrophic events? And this was a big concern for us too when we joined. And this is where Samaritan has their Save to Share program. So this is totally up to you. It is an optional program, but if you choose to add it, what it means is that if you had a qualified need that exceeded the maximum shareable limit, which I believe is $250,000, it can be shared. And opting into this program only costs us a few $100s every year, and it adds a lot of peace of mind.
Have a seat. All right, I'm gonna sneak this on your arm, and this is the one that gives your arm a little hug. And then listen to your heart.
Another question that we get all the time is about dental or vision or things like mental health needs. And so like well visits, these things are our responsibility. We'll put the link below to our blog post to answer more of these frequently asked questions that we get, and we'll also refer you to the Samaritan website, or if you have specific questions about your situation, I would definitely just go ahead and give them a call, and we'll put their number in the description below. But one thing that I will add that's really, really great about Samaritan is that since it's not insurance, there is no open enrollment period, which means you can join at any time throughout the year.
Right on top of your head, see how tall you are.
We are all about homesteading on a budget, and healthcare sharing in general may not be the lowest cost choice for healthcare out there, but it's the one that best aligns with our values and allows us to participate in the healthcare system in a way that we feel good about. We know we're not overpaying, we choose the options we believe are best for our family, we pay to individuals and not corporations, And we get to do it alongside other Christians, knowing that we are a part of something bigger.